We're not quite live yet, but all right. So again, welcome everybody. This is our last community call of 2022. This year went by really fast. I think I say that like every December. Yeah, we just have a couple of things on the agenda. We'll get started. Let's see. Again, a quick reminder on the code of conduct, the details which you can find in our repo if you have any questions to reach out to us. And yeah, like I said, a couple of agenda topics, community use, mostly around events that have happened that we participated in over the past few weeks, upcoming events, and then yeah, we just missed a cutoff, I think, last month. I think a week after our monthly call in November, we announced support for YAML. There was a blog post, and Igor will walk us through how data modeling could be done for fans of YAML. And I mean, feel free to ask questions both on Zoom and the live stream. I mean, feel free to use a chat on YouTube to ask any questions you may have. So without further ado, I'll get started. A couple of recaps. We had a workshop last week. Along with Igor, we also had Luis Paolini from Metabase. They joined us. I mean, we actually had a lot of new comers to Cube that have come from the Metabase community. I mean, we did a poll at the beginning of the workshop, and I think majority of people haven't been exposed to Cube, which was great to see. So it was nice to welcome people from the Metabase community. And if you recall, we had a workshop with Superset community a few months ago, and I think a couple of people chimed in our Slack channel and wanted us to sort of repeat that workshop with Metabase, which we're very happy to do. And it was really nice to collaborate with the Metabase community and the team. And as usual, I'll probably keep doing this for at least another few meetings. But if you're looking for the slides and the recordings, I mean, they're all posted. If I'm doing my job, they should be posted pretty quickly after the event wraps up. So you'll see the links for YouTube and the slides, the PDF logo there. So if you missed it, you can watch the recording and also download the slides that you can use as a reference. And if you did attend the workshop and if you received our survey, I mean, we definitely want to hear from you. You know, help us improve our future workshops. A couple of other events that have happened in the past few months. I mean, both of our co-founders actually talked about the role of semantic layer or headless BI in the modern data stack. RTM spoke at OSACon. This was, I believe it was like shortly after our last monthly call. You can find the recording on the OSACon page, but the recording is also posted on our YouTube page. So go check it out, and you hear from RTM. I mean, he wrote a couple of blog posts, and you did too, Igor, on the semantic layer and headless BI. But you can get a glimpse as to our thinking in terms of, you know, building a modern data stack using Cube. So do check that out. I think it was about a 20-minute presentation, so it's not terribly long. And just last week, I got a chance to go to an in-person event, which I'm slowly getting used to, having all the meetings done through Zoom for 2 years. I'm slowly getting used to going to an in-person events. It was just down the street, about 5 kilometers or 3 miles from where I live, at the Computer Science History Museum. Pavel and I were at PrestoCon. The Presto community got together for 2 days. And I mean, to our surprise, I mean, we actually ran into a couple of our community members in person, which is always a treat. And I got a picture of a tweet here from Philip. I mean, I didn't even know who Philip was. I mean, he's now at Meta, and he's a technical steering committee chair, I believe he is, for Presto community. But he also worked at Schoolytics, which is a user of Cube. And I remember talking to people from Schoolytics like earlier in the year. And he had nice things to say about us, obviously, like he did on Slack. So it was definitely nice to meet him. And yeah, it just turned out he presented right after Pavel, and Pavel again talked about semantic layer and headless BI and the technical implementation of that layer from Cube standpoint. So the recording should be available. They told us that within a week or so. So hopefully in the next few weeks, the recording will be available. I'll update folks with the link here. So I mean, it was definitely fun to see some of our community members, especially around the reception. So hopefully we'll get to do more of those going forward. And our next workshop, and Igor, I'll let you talk about this as well. But we already have the January one scheduled for the 25th. Obviously, you've heard about our epic on migrating away from Redis, so Igor will take a lead on that. But if you have suggestions for other topics for February and beyond, please let us know. I mean, Igor, like if you want to add anything here on this workshop, I'm sure you're already thinking about this, but I'll go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So really expecting everyone using Cube in production, to show up this workshop. You're welcome, folks. And the gist of it would be that, well, as you know, Redis is used as a part of the caching layer here at Cube, right? And it is primarily used to store the short-lived query cache, right? So the pre-aggregations itself, they are stored in the Cube store, right? But then when Cube is serving queries that query results, they got stored in Redis, and that is especially true for those queries that don't hit pre-aggregations and don't use Cube Store specifically. But it turned out, as we were collecting the data, we were observing how Cube is used, in a lot of different use cases under heavy load. It turned out that maintaining Redis clusters, it's a task. That might be, I would say, quite distracting from maintaining the rest of the Cube cluster, right? And it turned out that the existing technology that we already have in Cube Store, it is just better suited for serving at the store under Cube's cache. So this epic that you already mentioned, it's solely about just getting rid of Redis as a part of what you need to run to be able to maintain Cube cluster in production, right? So this workshop will just talk, more in depth about the groundwork that was done here and about the implications of just removing Redis from what you need to run to as a part of Cube cluster, and obviously take your questions. So, but generally, I believe that this is a really healthy move because it for all the Cube users, because it basically simplifies your setup. You'll have less moving parts. You'll be already using Cube Store that you use to store the pre-aggregations, and you wouldn't need to deal with the implications of running Redis clusters. So all in all, that should be a good move, and I expect everyone interested in that just to show up at the workshop. See you in January.
Cool. Thanks, Igor. And then, I just saw your message on Zoom as well. Yeah, you're right. And indeed, the PDF slides from Pavel's presentation is already posted. I didn't just remember that he submitted that before. So yeah, people can check that out on the PressoCon. I mean, just go to schedule and look for Pavel's name. It should be there, and hopefully recording will be posted pretty soon too. Thanks for checking that. Yeah, one more event that I wanted to give people a heads up on, and you may have seen this. Jonathan Barone made a post on the general channel. He's one of the co-organizers for a meetup in Hong Kong. And Jonathan works for South China Morning Post. And obviously, if you're in the U.S., the time zone doesn't work. It's 7 p.m. local time in Hong Kong. But if you're in the APAC region or even like a far east of eastern end of Europe, I mean, you'll probably be able to join. This is virtual, so once you register, you should get a link to sort of listen into the presentation. But I mean, if you're not familiar, South China Morning Post is a big, newspaper organization, and I was actually surprised. Like they have like even editorial board are very data driven nowadays. That's what I learned from Jonathan. So they're huge consumers of data, and they developed an internal application a few years ago, but then they're now starting to use Cube. So he'll talk about how they're using Cube to do data modeling and use it as a single source of truth. And he was also very happy with addressing latency through pre-aggregations, and the work is ongoing at the South China Morning Post. But you'll have a chance to hear from Jonathan if you register for the event, and you'll be able to join virtually. So that's it in terms of events, and obviously there'll be like not just workshops, but we'll have other exciting events that we're planning for 2023. So hopefully we'll have more announcements pretty soon. So with that, I believe that's, let me make sure there are no questions on the live stream. And I guess I'll stop sharing, Igor, and I'll let you run through the rest of the slides.
That sounds good. Okay. Let me take over screen share. Right. So yeah, let's talk about YAML. So as you probably saw on our blog, we've recently introduced the support for YAML in the data modeling part of Cube, right? So to put it simply, now you can define your data models, define your cubes and views using the pretty much familiar YAML syntax, as opposed to using this JSON-like syntax that was available in Cube since the day one. We believe that with YAML data modeling, Cube would be, would provide a more friendlier experience for data engineers, data analysts, and just folks generally coming from the data space, because no knowledge of JavaScript would be required, to configure data models in Cube, and also one would not need to kind of just switch the way of thinking, or switch the programming language used when, say, defining data transformations upstack, and then defining data models in Cube, right? So this should be a good step towards friendlier and I would say simpler user experience on the Cube part. And yeah, obviously we had this epic on GitHub, which is now successfully resolved and delivered. So let's see how it works. And on surface, everything is pretty darn simple, right? So I would say that it looks how you would expect, where the usual data model in Cube expressed in YAML. However, there are a few quirks here, so let's just quickly go through them. So if you're an existing Cube user, you know that many keywords, or specifically the properties in your data model, they are expressed using the camel case syntax, and for them, now the snake case counterparts, they are supported, right? So you can just write something count underscore distinct underscore approx instead of writing the same but with camel case, and that goes on and on. So that's true for all properties that we have in the models. And then you would generally not need to do any escaping or to enclose your strings, in quotes, because that's not what's needed in YAML. However, we also support some extensions to that. So specifically for the SQL properties, you're able to define multi-line blocks of codes, because a well formatted and easy to read SQL, it should be multi-line, right? And yeah, if you wonder, okay, how do you configure your data models? For example, if you want to use this kind of shown property to control the access to certain cubes of views, you might wonder, okay, whether you can have access to some context variables like compile context. Well, indeed you can. So you can just freely reference them. And actually, the way to reference those things, and also reference other cubes of views, this is through the syntax, which should be pretty much familiar to all Python users, right? So you're just using this braces to include the references inside them. So well, that's probably all you need to know to stop using YAML, right? And but probably the better way to understand all these quirks and features would be to go through the docs. However, I would also love to provide some visual way to understand how it all works. So with that, let's just jump into a quick demo. And actually, there are a couple of things to be demoed here, right? So yeah. So the first thing is, let's see how you can actually get started with Cube using this YAML syntax. So I have a Cube Cloud deployment here, right? And I just created it, right? And I've already specified some credentials to connect to a database. So let me just proceed, and we'll see an update to their data schema generation UI here. So I'll select a few tables here, and then, as you see, we are progressing through a series of steps. When we can configure measures and dimensions using these toggles or using these drop downs, but I'll probably leave it by default. We also have the primary key, so we can customize them if need to, and we can do the same with joins, review the end result. And the interesting thing here is that the very last step, we're actually able to specify in which format we need the schema generated. And the good thing is that YAML syntax is now their default one, right? So after we click confirm and generate, we will instantly get our data model in YAML. Let's see how it works. So yeah, the deployment is spinning, but we can already navigate to the schema, and yeah, we see a lot of files with this .yaml extension, right? And inside them, you see pretty much what you would expect, right? Given what you already know about the YAML support. So these are just maps and lists of properties, the same properties you're already aware of, but with different syntax. And that's the first one. Now, if you get started with Cube, you can actually if you opt in to generate the data model in YAML, you can actually do so. And let's see how it works in a more complex scenario. So here I have an existing deployment, which was actually created against the same database, right? So I have the same cubes here, like the sorters and products and suppliers and users. But actually what I did, I just commented out this orders cube in the orders.js file, and then I recreated it within the YAML syntax. So a couple of things you can see here. First, the three-letter YAML extension is also supported. Also, you're able to mix your regular or usual JavaScript syntax data model files with YAML data model files, which is really a good thing if you're going to gradually introduce YAML into your existing Cube projects, right? So you can just be migrating data model files one by one, or you can be just adding new files in the new syntax and leaving the existing ones as is. And let's take a closer look at this others file. So I believe here we've got everything that you would probably have in your data model file. So we have this cube definition with the SQL property, which can be multi-line. We also got the definitions for measures and dimensions. And as you can see, you can use the properties that you would expect to be supported, like this rolling window properties or types, expressed in the snake case, and things like filters, they are supported as well. And only in the complex scenarios like this one, where you need to reference other cubes, you would need to enclose these strings into double quotes, but in the general case it's not needed. So same is true for the dimensions. You can see that you can see how this case property can be expressed in YAML as well, and here you see also how joins and pre-aggregations translate into YAML syntax. So again, nothing special here, just maybe less braces and more clean, more cleaner syntax here, right? And with that, let's see how it actually works, right? So I'll switch to the playground and probably run a few queries. So I'll start with just orders count, right? And as you can see, it just works. Let actually run. There is some delay. I don't actually know why, but let's see if it runs. I'm actually going to reload this page. Maybe there was some glitch. Oh, okay, though. So the API needed to restart, right? Should be ready now. Oh, okay. So it's actually not starting. I wonder what might be the problem here. Don't actually know. Let's check if, okay. So pre-aggregations are, oh, right. So the thing is we've got our pre-aggregations being rebuilt, right? So so that should end soon, and we'll get our pre-aggregation in place, and that would be able to serve our query. Okay, yeah, now it works, and indeed we see that now the query is accelerated with the pre-aggregation. And well, I can do just the usual stuff. I can add some more dimensions. I can add dimensions from some other cubes because we have a join defined, and we'll see that how it works just like you would expect. So the SQL is generated just as you would expect. The pre-aggregations, they are being built and they're working. The joins work, etc. So this YAML syntax it's almost on par with the JavaScript syntax that Cube has historically had, and it's pretty much ready, so ready to be used in production. So I actually encourage you next time you need to evolve your data model to pick YAML and use it, right? And oh, okay. I stopped sharing my screen, but I actually want to show something else, right? And obviously, I also encourage you to just take a look at the docs that Hassan has compiled and prepared for you folks to understand fully how the YAML syntax works. But also I would just like to share some plans, because I said that the YAML syntax is almost fully on par with the JavaScript one. So what's the difference, you might wonder. Okay, so first of all, the dynamic data models, they are not currently supported with the YAML syntax for obvious reasons, right? So you need a programming language to actually code how your data model need to be generated, right? And with the current JavaScript syntax, it works in this way, right? So you actually write some JavaScript that generates again some JavaScript code containing this JSON-like definitions for your cubes, right? And the programming language that would play really nicely with the YAML syntax is going to be Python, right? So right now we are working on the Python support for dynamic data model generation. It's still not there, but it's probably gonna land soon. Well, if you need to generate your data models dynamically with YAML, well, you can just wait for that support to land, or in the interim, you can just use the existing JavaScript support to generate the models exactly how you could have been able to generate it all the time. Also, we know that in many use cases, or I would probably say in some use cases, you need to use this Cube.js file to configure Cube, right? So this is the secondary way to configure Cube, because the primary one is to use the environment variables. But if you need to configure some extension points, or like the query rewrite, or extend context, or configure multi-tenancy, you would need to use the Cube.js file, right? And currently, you would do this using the JavaScript syntax, and this is also something that we are working on improving. So you'll have a way to configure Cube using more syntax that's more familiar for data engineers down the road. And also, obviously, Cube is more than 3 years, out there, right? And we got a lot of examples, code examples, and recipes, and other stuff in our docs and our blog, which are written using this familiar JavaScript/JSON syntax, right? We'll be gradually migrating that to the YAML syntax, and introducing side by side code blocks in the docs and in other places, so you can actually use YAML as a reference. And also, we'll be gradually improving the support for YAML in the IDE that's available in Cube Cloud. So you'll get some syntax highlighting, you'll get the validation of your data models, etc., etc. So I would say right now it works decently, but it's gonna be improving over time. So this is what you can expect, but rather than expect that, I would encourage you to actually try to support for YAML data modeling, maybe today, or next time you need to evolve your data model and introduce a new cube, because as I said, you can mix your YAML data model files with JavaScript ones, so it's really easy to introduce YAML into your Cube data modeling configuration. And that's probably all for YAML. And yeah, Ray, you have a great slide in here, and I fully support what's seen right now. Do you want me to continue sharing my slides?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you, Igor. Yeah, and thanks for running through with the demos as well. I mean, hopefully that the visualization through the demo, along with documentation, is very helpful. And if you have any feedback on the feature, yeah, this is something that we had to take a couple of extra weeks on. Like, we wanted to complete this in Q3, but I think it's hopefully people will agree that it's worth the wait. And glad this is available for data community. Yeah, last slide. I mean, we mentioned this is our last community call of the year, and hopefully a lot of us will have a chance to sort of take some downtime with the family and celebrate the end of the year and beginning of the new year. And however you celebrate, wherever you are, whatever traditions you have, I bid you warmth and peace. And hopefully we'll come back all rested in January and continue the growth of our software along with the community. So I'm sure, Igor, you have similar sentiments, but yeah.
Of course, feel fully supportive, and it's really hard to disagree with that. Yeah, I wish everyone great, just great time with family, friends, and loved ones, and also peace should prevail everywhere.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody, and then we'll do this again next month, and see you online or in person, hopefully soon as well. Have a good one. Thank you.